Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and Amber is waving at you, and here are some crazy Reddit stories! I'm not even joking, these are unbelievable, to the point where I'm not sure if I believe them. Our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Going to My Dad and Ex-Fiance's Wedding? That's right folks, So, about 5 years ago, I, a 20-year-old male, got engaged to who I thought was the love of my life, Tasha, a 24-year-old female. There was a fire in her apartment complex, and she didn't have anywhere else to go, and as I couldn't move her into my apartment at the time, I talked with my parents, who they knew very well, and she moved into my old bedroom. My parents' house was a 15-minute drive from my house. Well, one day I was going to surprise her on my birthday with tickets to some Marvel movie. She's a big fan, and I walked in on her and my dad, a 47-year-old male at the time, and as you can guess, that ended our 5-year relationship. Alright folks, that already is really odd and kind of creepy because that means that he was 15 and she was 19 when their relationship started, already not on a good foot on any accounts. My mom moved out when she found out, and my fiancé and dad have lived together since. 2 years ago, I started dating Paul, a 26-year-old male, and I'm now 25, and I got an invite to my dad and Tasha's wedding, and my mom told me that she got one too. Now my dad, who is now 52, tried to contact me, as did Tasha, a now 29-year-old. I essentially told them that they were both dead to me, and that I'm not coming. She sent me a picture of the kid that she and my dad had together, who is 4, and they were crying. Great, emotional blackmail too. She said that it would break my little half-sibling's heart if I didn't come and say hi. Gross. But I told her that that child means as much to me as she does. Well, my other full siblings and cousins in my dad's side have been messaging me and my mom saying that I'm being too harsh on my dear old dad. I cannot roll my eyes hard enough or far enough. And that I should just get over it for a week and attend the happiest day of their life, which made my mom cry. I wonder why. My boyfriend even said that me not going shows that I still have emotions for Tasha, and that I'm just jealous of what she and my dad have, which just isn't the case at all. Even a friend of mine who lost their dad has told me that he would do anything to get more time with him, differences aside, and that I'm taking the time that I have for granted. No. All these people in your life are terrible people. I do not know how you have bad lucked your way into such an unsavory crowd of people, OP. This is just the worst. They hurt me emotionally and mentally, and I don't want to be around awful people, past relationships not even included. They mean nothing to me, and I disowned them, and I don't want to feel like garbage for a week supporting two awful people. My mom is standing firm on her decision, and I don't think I'm wavering either. I just want to make sure because of the overwhelming amount of hate I've received from my family from this. Am I the jerk? Edit. For those asking, she tried to say the child was mine. And we took a test. Came back negative. It's even dumber because I'm asexual, and I've never been with anyone sexually, including her, which I thought she was fine with. I told her that going into the relationship. Clearly, it wasn't. Oh, alright folks. What do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. 0 jerks for you, OP. 5 for your dad and Tasha.
I mean, how much more abuse can the jerk meter take, folks? How much more abuse can it take? It's already been broken how many times recently? This is absurd. Just plain absurd. No, OP, you're not the jerk. You get 0, your mom gets 0, everyone else, and your boyfriend, they all get 5s. It's like a sick game of Go Fish, where everyone has drawn the same card. I don't know. It's a terrible analogy, terrible metaphor, but we're going to go with it. Anyhow, I don't know what else to say. It's like, no, don't go to this wedding. You do not need to endorse their wedding, and you are fine with not showing support.
Yeah, they're just trying to do it so that they'll look like they're not the bad guys anymore.
Yeah, they just want the silent agreement here that you support their union and you've forgiven them and stuff like that. No, you don't need to forgive them. You do not need to accept this relationship. They hurt you. They're bad people. That's it. Anyhow, take care and good luck. And Rationally Skeptic says, not the jerk, I'm sorry, but how could you possibly be the jerk in the situation where the person you thought was the love of your life cheated on you with your dad, ending both your relationship that you thought would last and ending your parents' marriage, hurting your mom and you, clearly without care or concern. They had a child together immediately. How are you supposed to be happy for them? And OP replies, exactly, with an expletive in front of it. And Checo314 says, is this real? Not the jerk if true, but come on. And OP replies, unfortunately, this is real and it hurts to no end. And Checo314 says, okay, well, if you really do need to hear it from a stranger on the internet, then no, you don't need to feel bad about declining an invitation to the wedding of your father with his mistress or your former fiancé and the guy she cheated with, let alone both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that says it all. Alright, folks, and you thought the last one was bad, and I don't know which one's worse, but we're about to find out. Our next letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Hiding My Boyfriend's Dog to Prove a Point? I'm a 23-year-old female, and my boyfriend Hank, a 26-year-old male, has a dog, Ladybird. And we have a son together, Bobby, a 3-year-old male. He has had Ladybird since before we were together, about 5 years ago. I'm actually allergic to dogs, but I make do because I know Ladybird means a lot to him, and I've grown to love her as if I had her my whole life. We've both had full-time jobs and split the housework just fine, but when it comes to Bobby, I feel like Hank treats Ladybird better than him sometimes. Hank will come home and go straight to Ladybird and play and cuddle and talk to her, but he never stops off to see how Bobby is doing, if he's eaten or if he's had a bad day in daycare or anything. I assume he's thinking he's with Mama, so everything's good. But I feel it's not too much to ask for an acknowledgement when he first gets home. Well, last month on Hank's day off, I had Bobby out of daycare since he had a sniffy nose, and I didn't want to risk it, so Hank watched him. When I came home from work, Hank was watching TV and I couldn't find Bobby. Hank was being blasé about it and saying he's around somewhere. I was about to call the police because I had saw the back door was open with one of those bulk snack boxes by it when a neighbor that lives 3 houses down came by to drop Bobby off. She told me that he came through their doggy door and that he was trying to get into their daughter's room. They have a 5-year-old daughter that Bobby plays with a few times a week. Obviously, I was freaked out but thankful that he went to a safe place. I yelled at Hank for not watching him, and he told me to calm down because it worked out fine. Just fine, folks. Fine. There's nothing wrong here. We're all just fine. So I waited for things to calm down, and then a few days ago, I snuck home early on Hank's day off, and I grabbed Ladybird and gave her to the same neighbor to watch. I made a big show of coming in noisily after purposely leaving the back door open. Things were cool for a bit until he tried calling for Ladybird. I just kept playing along until he noticed the door. He freaked out, saying that I wasn't careful and that Ladybird could have been killed out there. He literally ran in just his shorts, no shirt or shoes, outside screaming her name and freaking out. During that time, I texted my neighbor to start walking the dog down. He saw her as he was about to get in his car, and he grabbed her and went inside. He yelled at me, calling me irresponsible, saying that she could have been stolen or killed. I asked how he thought I felt when I couldn't find our literal child. He said that didn't compare and Bobby was just at the neighbors and that we live in a safe neighborhood, so nothing would have happened. I honestly didn't have anything to say to that. I packed a bag for Bobby and I went and stayed at a hotel for a bit. I'm checking out tomorrow, but I'm still angry. Hank's been texting me saying that I'm childish, but I think that he's not taking this seriously enough. Friends of mine are mixed. Let it go, or I'm right to be mad. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk? All right, OP. I don't think what you did was terrible, honestly. You had a very controlled experiment here, and maybe it was a little bit of emotional duress, but losing your son should have had the same level of emotional duress. And the fact that he does not treat his son the same as he treats his dog says a whole lot about your partner. This is not good. I think that this is child endangerment. And while a 3-year-old can have some agency, this is not an acceptable level of agency. He should not be able to wander around that much unescorted without any idea about where he's at, right? This was a horrifying thing that could have turned into a tragedy, but fortunately it didn't. So I don't think that you're a jerk, but I think that you probably need to get full custody of your child and potentially move out, because this is not good. Anyhow, take care and good luck. And Miyuki M says, not the jerk. I'm typically not a fan of testing partners like this, but the result is pretty stark. He clearly doesn't care about your son at all, and your son is not safe with him alone. And Born to Milito says this, I don't typically like texting partners either, but since he didn't seem to understand at all when she talked to him about it, and it's such a serious issue, I think it was reasonable to try to make him understand, except he didn't get it at all. It just further proved that he doesn't care about his kid. Alright folks, speaking of unreasonable people, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for asking my sister-in-law to babysit my kids? I'm a 33-year-old female and I have 3 kids under 4. Both my husband and I work full-time jobs. We send our children out to daycare, which is very expensive. My sister-in-law, 27's husband's little sister is due to give birth to her first baby in about a month. She's very lucky that her job provides her with 6 months of maternity leave, which is fully paid. Here is where the conflict comes in. Since she will be home for 6 months watching her baby, my husband and I were thinking that we could also drop our children off. My husband's mother is there with her most days anyways, and her husband for the first 3 weeks, so she has a lot of help. It would also be a nice time for all of the cousins to bond and get close. It would also save us a ton of childcare costs for 6 months, and we can throw some money in the family savings finally. My husband and I visited his sister last week and brought this up to her near the end of our visit, and she was quiet, but she said that she would think about it. Well, the next day she sent my husband a text saying that she discussed it with her husband and they decided that they just want some time to bond with the baby and taking the kids would be too much. We honestly think this is BS, and her husband obviously talked her out of it. She has her husband and my mother-in-law there to help, so she won't even need to bother with my kids, and it's only for 6 months. We offered to let her have the 2 weeks with just the baby so they can bond and start bringing out the kids after that, but she declined. I love how they changed the arrangement of this such generous agreement. My husband is more upset than I am and has been ignoring his sister since, in his words, is that she can't help out the family. She isn't family then. She has called and texted my husband many times, but he's ignored them all and blocked her. She is very upset about this, and so is mother-in-law, and she keeps telling my husband that he is ruining her pregnancy and causing her stress. He won't back down, and now mother-in-law is mad at me because I was the one who asked. I see my husband's point. Family should help out family, but I wish he would just back down and make peace. All right, folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
Major jerk.
Well, okay, so I think OP has some redemption here, right? OP does say at the end, but I wish he would just back down and make some peace. So I think that while OP did potentially ask something that was unreasonable and has potentially realized to some degree that maybe this is unreasonable, her husband hasn't at all, and I think that makes him a major jerk, right? I think maybe he gets like the full 5, she probably gets like 2. I'm going to say 2.
No, I'd say way more than 2. She gets at least 4.
Amber gives her 4. I give her 2.
Because, like, that's just such an unreasonable thing to be, like, she just wants to treat her as free childcare. Like, oh, you are home doing the hard work of raising a newborn on you, and I'm going to just throw a few more kids at you because, you know, it's your job.
Well, and I think that they were hopeful, and I think that they wanted to potentially save some money, and I can understand that, especially in this economy. And I think that that's maybe very misguided of them. And I don't think that they were necessarily trying to be malicious.
Well, but you should still pay your family for childcare too.
And I mean, I'm not disagreeing on that. You know, I think that there were a lot of missteps here, but I don't think that they were wrong for necessarily asking, but maybe they were in poor taste, right? So let me know what you folks think about that. And as for the woman giving birth here, the sister, no, she's not the jerk, and neither is her husband. They want to have some time to bond with kids, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. And I understand that childcare is expensive, but that isn't their problem, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's the thing, is like, when you have kids, you have to accept that kids are expensive. And I mean, that's a complicated problem in its own right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there isn't a good solution there. There's a lot of issues, and I'm not trying to sound callous towards them or their needs, but the fact of the matter is that this is, you know, that's difficult, right? Anyhow, take care and good luck. And Purple Wombat says, "You're the jerk. She'll be home for 6 months in order to recover and bond with her newborn, not save you money on daycare. How dare you?" Mm-hmm. And Olivia M. Rowe says, Now, in total fairness, they offered to let her have 2 whole weeks alone with the baby. Holy cow, the entitlement is mind-boggling. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I have some tea here, which I guessed correctly today. Amber has some tea as well. And we've got jokes. Lots of jokes. Well, one joke. Where does a frog change its clothes? You know, if I were a frog and I wore clothing, I think I would change my clothes in the swamp where I live, because that's the most comfortable environment. So I'm saying the swamp. In the croak room. No. Please make it stop. It's terrible. It's terrible, folks. Terrible. And I have licorice spice today.
You were psychic.
I was psychic. I actually guessed it before Amber had it picked out. Before Amber consulted Google about what tea I was going to have today. Thanks, Google. I, the amazing Tin 10 Fish Fawn Strand, have guessed it again correctly. Thanks to my psychic powers. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like, and if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow. And Amber's waving bye. Howdy folks. Welcome to the episode to end all episodes. It's not the last episode, but it is terrifying. Mm-hmm. I don't know.